Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Society of Germantown's live-streamed worship service. It's a beautiful day outside. We hope you enjoy some of this beautiful day. We wish you a happy Father's Day. The topic of this morning's worship, Compassion Matters, seems apropos of the day and of these times. My name is Jeffrey Jager, and I will be your worship associate today. Before we begin our service today, we have a few brief announcements. First, a thank you to the other participants this morning. Minister Kent Mathias, Music Director Mark Daugherty, soloist Bob Heffley and Siobhan Raupach, and our Share the Plate speaker, Sarah Popkin from UU House Outreach. Our technical help this morning, without which we could have not done any of this, is given by Avery Hamill, Treva Berger, Melissa Guerrero, Lisa Dutton, and Carolyn Scott. Visitors and return guests, we are so glad to see you, as well as regular members and friends. For more information about our congregation and programs, please email the welcoming team at welcoming@usguu.org. See that email and other links in the chat section of Zoom this morning. Please make sure your display name in Zoom is respectful and accurately reflects your identity. If you don't know how to rename yourself so that you no longer appear as Mom's iPad, please call 215-844-1157. We are glad you're here and we so much want to know who you are. We are grateful to the 65% of the congregation who have now sent in their statements of commitment for the church year for 2020-2021. If you haven't sent yours in, we would love to hear from you. No amount is too small, truly, or too big. We have 10 more days until June 30th, the end of our fiscal year, 9 more days now. If you can fulfill your pledge for 2019-2020 by then, we would greatly appreciate it. Your support enables us to present many spiritual, service, and fellowship opportunities. We have no children's programs this morning, but next Sunday, June 28th, we begin our Zoomed Children's Summer Sunday programs. Email Ryan Hurd to obtain the links. And there is a story for all ages today, so don't go away. We have many offerings for adults, and those include UU 101, which is offered today at 11:30 via Zoom. You can learn more about Universalist faith. Just email uu101@usguu.org. Another is the very special opportunity to attend this General Assembly of Unitarian Universalists workshops and gatherings called GA, or General Assembly, all offered virtually throughout next week. Find out more at www.uua.org/GA. And also be sure to attend next Sunday's 10 a.m. worship service, which will come to us from GA, led by a minister beloved by USG. Reverend Joan Javier Duval will be leading the service. Please visit the USG homepage for instructions on accessing it. Other offerings include mindfulness programs on Sunday evenings and Wednesday afternoons, and yoga on Friday and Saturday mornings. To find out more, check the website or contact mindfulness@usguu.org. Celebrate the solstice tonight, June 21st, with the Earth Spirit Circle at 7 p.m. via Zoom. You can find more information and the Zoom link on the USG website. We also offer ways for people of all ages to practice compassion and service. All are invited to stand in solidarity with Black people in front of the church on Lincoln Drive on Monday through Friday from 5 to 6 p.m. Please wear face masks and practice social distancing. To learn more about our programs and news, please go to our website, usguu.org. We also ask you to please let our caring team know, or one of our 5 COVID-19 treatment teams know, if you need help with health, socializing, food delivery, or finances during the pandemic. We are here for you. Contact our office at communications@usguu.org if you have any questions. We now turn to our minister, Kent Mathias, for an important moment in the life of our community.
For 155 years, The people of this congregation have gathered together based in theologies of love, courage, and hope. And we are not together physically right now, but we sure are connected spiritually in that living tradition. And at this time, we pause to mark exceedingly terrible news that we have received in our community. And some may not know of this, but David Williford, 25 years old, who grew up in the church, died recently and tragically. There are no words to describe the grief or the sadness. We pause at this time to hold in our community, to hold in our beloved community's arms David's father, Bob Williford, his mother, Kim, his brother, Carl, his stepmother and sisters, Cynthia, Zaria, and Maisha, and all his family. David grew up in this church. He was intelligent, caring, hilarious, rambunctious, and had a great heart for justice. We will honor his life with a memorial service on Tuesday, the 30th of June at 2 p.m. The congregation is invited via Zoom. There are ways to write and send love to the family. Let us pause to honor, mourn, and celebrate the life of David Williford. May his memory be a blessing to all. Amen.
Come, let us gather this morning with warm hearts and hopeful spirits, for we are blessedly held in the love of one another. Welcome to our celebration of life. This morning I will light the chalice, the symbol of our welcoming faith, with words from Thich Nhat Hanh. My joy is like spring, so warm it makes flowers bloom in all walks of life. My pain is like a river of tears, so full that it fills the four oceans. Please call me by my true names, so I can hear all my cries and laughs at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names, so I can wake up, and so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion.
We have cleared off the table, the leftovers saved, washed the dishes and put them away. I have told you a story and tucked you in tight at the end of your knockabout day. As the moon sets its sail to carry you to sleep over the midnight sea. Oh, sing you a song no one sang to me. May it keep you good company. You can be anybody that you want to be. You can love whomever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself, you can gather friends around, you can choose one special one, and the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're gone. Some girls grow up strong and bold, some boys are quiet and kind. Some race on ahead, some follow behind, some grow in their own space and time. Some women love women, and some men love men. Some raise children, and some never do. You can dream all the day, never reaching the end of everything possible for you. Don't be rattled by names, by taunts or games, but seek out spirits true. If you give your friends the best part of yourself, they will give the same back to you. You can be anybody that you want to be. You can love whomever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one, and the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're gone. Oh, the love you leave
The UU House Outreach Program will be our Share the Plate recipient today. USG was amongst the founding congregations of UU House, and we could not be more happy to share our plate with this deserving organization. Please welcome Sarah Popkin, Executive Director of UU House Outreach, who will tell us more about this vital organization.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you all of you for hosting me at this morning's service. I'd like to tell you a little bit more. We are a nonprofit, non-denominational extension of the former UU House retirement community in Germantown, which closed its doors, unfortunately, in 2010. We have been serving older adults in Germantown and the greater Northwest since 1999. Our small team, which includes social workers and an agency nurse, provides free and confidential support, primarily in the homes of older adults. We work clients living independently to support them in their efforts to age safely with dignity in their own homes and communities. The vast majority of our clients have lower or limited incomes, and they struggle to meet basic needs that some of us may be able to take for granted. Our program benefits from an engaged board, which includes USG's own Gail Gibbons and Andrea Perry. Gail and Andrea truly enhance our program and understand the importance of our mission. In addition to USG representation on our board, we also partner with USG for the Martin Luther King Day of Service, when we work with Linda Bernstein and other USG members to pack and deliver winter essentials kits to clients, and with Gail Gibbons and other members to make birthday cards for isolated homebound clients. While our current program operations have had to shift in the wake of the pandemic, we continue to develop creative strategies to safely connect with clients and to help them meet their ever-evolving needs. We spend a lot of time supporting older adults during this new normal. That can mean providing mental health support and connection to clients who are isolated and possibly depressed. It can also mean helping our clients access a variety of services and resources in a safe way, including medical care, public benefits, and food. Any support you may be able to offer today would be used towards our Client Assistance Fund. We provide small yearly grants, typically between $100 and $300, to help the older adults we serve meet their vital needs. Grants are often provided for prescription copays, grab bars, incontinence supplies, utility bills, and rent or mortgage costs. Our goal is to enable clients to manage at home comfortably, which they are often able to do with some added support from us and the wonderful Northwest Philadelphia community. Thank you all for having me today, and I wish you good health and fellowship.
Please be as generous as you can as we gratefully receive the offering. To make your contribution, you can send a text with the amount of your pledge, then a space, then the letter STP to the phone number you see on the screen here, 215-608-2660. For example, you could type 100 space STP or 50 or 200 or whatever space pledge. Instructions are displayed on your screen and will be displayed in the chat.
What a powerful Sunday it is. And I really do want to give a loving, warm shout out to fathers. Happy Father's Day to the dads here and the dads not on the Zoom worship, but the dads with whom we're connected around the globe. We give thanks for compassion and our fathers and efforts they made. All us dads are imperfect, but we give thanks for all the beautiful ways in which we're evolving into our fullest humanity as dads. Bob Williford, I love you so much. We love you so much. Happy Father's Day, or our love is with you on Father's Day is what I mean. And I do want to say before we go to the story, give that General Assembly is an amazing opportunity to connect with Unitarian Universalists from around, not only around the nation and North America, but from around the globe. It is happening virtually only this year, and so you can still register and take advantage of programs and worship services and hangouts with really interesting folks. And next Sunday morning, it's a big treat. Joan Javier Duval, who we know is one of the finest preachers in the denomination, without a doubt, in my opinion, without a doubt. She's preaching on Sunday morning to UUs around the globe, and we're going to be watching ourselves. So I couldn't be more excited. I've been texting with Joan. So grateful. We're so lucky to have had her for a couple of years with our congregation. Compassion is the theme of the month. And I want to share my screen. Cross your fingers, everybody, that this works. I think it's going to work. Okay. This story is an ancient biblical story from the Hebrew Bible. The book of Ruth is probably the most feminist Bible book there is, very UU friendly. And there's a lot to look at in these stories for guiding us on how we can live our lives today. So when we're on compassion, there's a number of characters in here that I think show us about compassion. This rendition of the book it's a children's story, Ruth Takes Care of Naomi, by Joy Melissa Jansen. There was a woman named Naomi. She had 2 sons. One of them married a woman named Oprah. The other married a woman named Ruth. Oh, my screen's messed up now. Naomi's husband, oh no, my screen is being blocked. Can somebody see, hold on, I think I can do it. Yes, sorry. Naomi's husband died, and her 2 sons died too. Naomi told her daughter-in-laws to go home and find new husbands. So Oprah left, but Ruth told Naomi, I won't leave you. The land was dry and bare with no food to eat. So Ruth and Naomi traveled to Bethlehem. It was a long journey, but Ruth never left Naomi's side. Finally, they reached Bethlehem. Stay here, Ruth told Naomi. I'll go out and find food. She picked the leftover grain in a field belonging to a man named Boaz. Now I'm going to stop the story there. It goes on and it is very valuable to look at, so I encourage you to do so if you feel so called. But what I want to say is, well, Ruth and Boaz end up getting married and being very compassionate to Naomi. I believe that one of the reasons, Ruth made a big sacrifice, and one of the reasons was that Naomi, her mother-in-law, had always been so compassionate to her and others. So she felt it was doing God's will, doing the right thing to be compassionate back to her. So really it's a story of 3 amazing people who helped so much. Naomi started it all off as a very kind, loving mother who would make sacrifices for others, including during a famine where people were extremely hungry. And then Ruth became a compassionate daughter-in-law through very difficult times. And then we have the introduction of a man who becomes a father, Boaz. He's a good role model for us fathers on this Father's Day, Boaz. This story happened very likely roughly between 6,000 and 8,000 years ago. This is an ancient story showing how compassion mattered. And kids and adults, we know from our own experiences, I think compassion matters today. So I invite you right now, if you want, if you're with somebody, if you're with a parent, or if you're with a friend or a partner, or in the chat, you can say an example of how you're seeing compassion matters today. Something somebody's doing, something you're doing. Don't hide your light under a bushel. Or how you're being affected by compassion, any which way. And this is a way we make compassion contagious, by telling stories like that of Naomi, Boaz, and Ruth giving compassion to each other. And we carry on this ancient human tradition together and share about each other's compassion as well. May the compassion of Naomi, Boaz, and Ruth be beacons for our own lives.
Thank you, Kent. I ask you now to take a moment for quiet reflection, at the end of which Kent will lead us in a meditation leading into Spirit of Life. As you focus inward, we ask again that you hold in the light the family of David Williford. Our heavy hearts are with Bob, Kim, Carl, and the rest of David's loving family. Our hearts go to all those in our community, our city, our nation, and our world whose lives have been marked by suffering recently. We hold in the light victims of police violence and gun violence in our neighborhoods and our nation, and let us pledge to work together to do whatever we can to end the scourge of systemic racism. We pray together for those among us who have either been sickened by coronavirus or otherwise affected by this illness. We offer our thanks to those essential workers who have served as the glue that has held our society together through this anxious time. In these times of trauma, it is important to note the good in the world. This week, people of justice and compassion had reason to celebrate as the Supreme Court upheld the rights of LGBTQ persons in the workplace and continued protections for undocumented immigrants brought to the US as children, known as Dreamers. For this and other uplifting events, let us take notice and be grateful.
I invite you now to get comfortable where you are, seated. It's fine to be laying down. Become aware of how your body is touching the chair or wherever you're on. Mindfully pay attention to your breath, breathing in and out. Breathe with your whole body. Your whole body needs that oxygen. So just picture yourself as a full body, not just lungs and nose or mouth breathing, but the whole body breathing. Interacting in this way with your environment, which is there to give life. You right now are on the threshold. We are on the threshold between the world that was and the world that will be. Here we are right now. Maybe in this liminal time, you can let go of some of the ways of being in which you were engaged, which are no longer needed or helpful. Maybe you can embrace a life-affirming hope for a better world, with some more kindness or gratitude. Can you feel the reality right now? The whole body, your whole body seems to be involved in the collaborative process in the universe of renewal and restoration. Can you feel that process of renewal and restoration? May we all compassionately participate in the redemptive process, which is deeply embedded within life itself.
Spirit of life, come to me. Sing in my heart all the songs of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Here we are. Here we are in this coming apart time of pandemic and recession, both of which create more pressure on the already impossible position in which we have put our nation's poor and many of the middle class. And here we are in the ongoing experience of tenacious racial injustice upon which our nation was built and continues today. Many of us are keenly aware of suffering in ourselves and others. The disorienting context seems to strip us down and force reassessment of our most basic assumptions. And this month, we're very duly reviewing the question, does treating others with compassion matter? The mission statement of the church is building beloved community with compassion, service, and empowerment. Right now, we must ask the question, does compassion matter enough to have that prioritization? Let's go back to the sacred story. Memories of surviving a famine blew through the trees. Naomi tried to shelter from those injurious recollections, but the current moment involved discomfort of dry mouth and lips, rumbling, painful stomach. Naomi's daughter-in-law Ruth could have left her, like she said she could, gone back to Moab, where Ruth was from, where she would have had much better odds for a more comfortable life. But Ruth felt her mother-in-law Naomi's pain and wanted to make a difference. Ruth declared, "Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people. Your God, my God." And Ruth followed through on that bold declaration, accompanying Naomi to Bethlehem, well aware that the move would be arduous and risky. Realizing that Ruth was truly staying by her side, Naomi felt like she could fly. This was the first time Naomi felt any kind of lightness since she was pinned down by the 3 heavy boulders of loss, which were the deaths of her husband and 2 sons. Compassion mattered in ancient times. Compassion saved Naomi's life. Compassion involves being aware of the suffering of others and having a desire of alleviating suffering. Being aware of suffering and having a desire to alleviate suffering. The Charter for Compassion was a major international initiative, which many of us remember well. It happened around the year 2008. People from a large variety of communities around the world, including our church, signed on to this document, which states the principle of compassion lies at the heart of all religious, ethical, and spiritual traditions, calling us always to treat all others as we wish to be treated ourselves. Compassion impels us to work tirelessly to alleviate the suffering of our fellow creatures. There's a book I've been looking at, reading. I encourage you, if you're interested, it's very interesting. It's called Compassionomics. Thank you, Jerry Whalen, for directing me to it. It's written by 2 physicians, Stephen Resiak and Anthony Mazzarelli. The book Compassionomics examines the question of whether compassion creates measurable impact in healthcare. Years of study sadly clarify that there is a shortage of compassion in many sectors of medicine today, of course, with important exceptions. With a primary focus on healthcare, the writers review revolutionary scientific evidence, and I'm convinced that that term fits, which confirms that when it is present, compassion has the power to improve patient outcomes. And in its absence, there can be devastating consequences. The authors of the book start off taking a step back to examine the United States culture at large. I like this. Why just unfairly or myopically focus on healthcare? Let's see what cultures this system resides in. And there we see analysis of the last 4 decades in the United States, stating that people are becoming significantly more self-focused and less other-focused. As a nation, there are many studies over the last 4 decades. So people tend to focus on themselves more and focus on others less. And so with this information, it's not a surprise that nearly half of Americans believe that US healthcare system and healthcare providers are not compassionate. The healthcare system, in essence, consistently reflects the country within which it operates. One illustrative example explores how well physicians listen to their patients. How well does your doctor listen to you? The study from Mayo Clinic looked at a large number of physician-patient visits and uncovered that after doctors asked a question of their patients, on average, it took 11 seconds before the doctors interrupted the patient's answer. It's been well studied that these days kids tend to draw pictures of physicians looking at a screen instead of the patient. They're not drawing the classic picture of a doctor sitting on a bed on a home visit, looking into the eyes of the patient with their stethoscope. They're drawing pictures of doctors looking at screens. And these are a few of the windows allowing us a view of sadness into the loss of opportunities for compassion. And it is true that a growing number of doctors and healthcare workers are making a bigger effort to prioritize compassion. And we have so many of them in our congregation, including I'm honored to lead worship with Dr. Jeff Jager today. He's very compassionate. We have, I'm biased, but I'll tell you, I believe it's absolutely true. We have a lot of very actively caring nurses and doctors and hospital workers in our church and our communities. We see it and we feel it from you. So thank you, all of you. And I think folks are part of this trend where doctors especially have, let's be frank, the doctors needed the most focus on this improvement. I think they themselves would agree. They're focusing more on slowing down to see and feel the suffering of others. They're taking time to talk and listen and demonstrate they truly care. They're opening up and vulnerably showing more of their own humanity in their practice of medicine. And we thank you. Evidence shows that physicians showing compassion through their words and actions have positive impacts on patients. It's not just, did you get the right drugs? Did you get the right procedure and good advice? Compassion makes a difference. And what I can call it the compassion advantage, positively impacting patients in many areas, including blood pressure, anxiety, pain, trauma, palliative care, and psychological issues and physical issues. When the doctor shows compassion, the patients do better. And we know that these results in the studies of healthcare can guide us all to make a difference in the lives of others with our acts of compassion. It does matter. Many doctors say one of the struggles is, I don't have time to slow down. Studies show that seminarians and clergy say the same thing. I don't have time to slow down. I don't know how to make the time. Yet the studies show that 40 seconds can make a big difference. With the docs, if they take 40 seconds to focus, and these 40 seconds can include the doctor making statements like, whatever happens, we will continue to take good care of you. You will not go through this alone. We're together. Regardless of who you are, what you do, we can take 40 seconds with each other more often. We can make this a goal because we know it makes a difference. There's value in making that time. Tell each other you're not alone. We'll go through this together regardless. We're together. And we can tell stories about compassion. Not only the ancient stories, but the current ones too. This week on Facebook, it's a new little practice I'm going to be trying, people. See if you dig it. I'm going to be putting out once in a while on different media the topic of the week and see what you think about it. This week I asked for people to not hide their light under a bushel, share about compassion they've been involved with or witnessed. Dear friend of mine in the church, Paula Paul from St. Vincent's, she's a power leader. Whatever you do on Facebook, she said, I'm doing favors for friends older than me who are most vulnerable during these times. I'm grocery shopping for them, paying their bills online so they don't have to go out. I pick up, give away food boxes for them, whatever I can. That sounds like a lot of people in our church too. During pandemic and before, we have a real compassionate base in this community. If you're just coming in, we need you to be a part of it. We want to be compassionate to you and you to be a part of it. But there's a renewing compassion, a revitalizing compassion in our church. I was delighted. An old college friend of mine who we have disappeared from each other, but Sean Scanlon said, In response, I gave up meat 3 months ago. It wasn't hard, and it's definitely worth it if you consider the impact on the environment and animals. That's a great effort of compassion. And it shows how compassion is critically effective in social justice work. We could have a great set of environmental impact policies and studies and education pieces, but if we don't involve ourselves in them with compassion for Mother Earth and all sentient beings, it'll have less impact without the compassion. This is how we have seen and been a part of so many people making progress, and thank goodness for those Supreme Court rulings this week in favor of justice for GLBTQ folks and immigrant dreamers. These movements are based in compassion and thus have higher levels of effectiveness. Right now, around the globe, people are putting their legs, arms, voices, bodies in the streets to end centuries of racial injustice. Right here on Lincoln Drive, every day, Monday through Friday, 5 to 6, all people are invited and are coming out, our church and the wider community coming together with deep compassion to change the unacceptable. We are participating in Black Lives Matter movement. What acts of compassion have you engaged in lately? Don't hide your light under a bushel. What acts of compassion have you witnessed? You can share them in the chat, tell somebody, just say them out loud to yourself. Think about it. Of course, I hear this all day long, and I'm sure you do too, and feel it many days. Many folks who care deeply about others are involved in compassion fatigue right now. It is tough time to be a compassionate person because we see suffering all day long just around us and on the news. So we got to remember to be compassionate to ourselves. The Buddha said, if your compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete. So it's tricky in a nation that struggles with selfishness and excessive materialism, but we must remember to be compassionate to ourselves. And dads, I want to give you a special shout out of encouragement for self-compassion. We know a lot of dads who burn the candle at both ends with work, family, volunteerism. We could go right around the Zoom meeting right now and see a lot of them. Dads, take 15 minutes of silence a day. Fill your tank. That's advice for everybody too. COVID-19 has prompted compassionate responses from throughout the world. People all over the place, including a company in Philadelphia where workers stayed overnight in the plant for 28 days and nights making masks for healthcare workers. Compassion is bubbling. Cameras put the horrific murder of George Floyd right in front of us. Stirred our nation's compassion just like the TV cameras of Bull Connor's police dogs attacking African Americans in the 60s. Right now, we have a chance with compassion to make the deep-seated changes in racial injustice in America. Let's do it. Let's give everything we have with compassion. Compassion can involve anger, 100%. If you're compassionate, you get angry sometimes, regardless. How can you not? These responses are in a tradition of Ruth telling Naomi, where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people will be my people. Your God, my God. We can always engage. You can always engage in the Buddhist prayer, which we will sing now together. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole. Blessing be.
I invite those at home to sing along if you would like. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be well.
Our closing words today are by Albert Einstein in a letter to Robert Marcus. It is translated from the German. A human being is a spatially and temporally limited piece of the whole, what we call the universe. He experiences himself and his feelings as separate from the rest, an optical illusion of his consciousness. The quest for liberation from this bondage is the only object of true religion. Not nurturing the illusion, but overcoming it gives us the attainable measure of inner peace. I will now extinguish the chalice as we return to our lives of community and service. Thanks again to Lisa, Treva, Avery, Melissa, and everyone else who made today's service possible. Now you may pass the peace via chat for the next few minutes. Then we invite you to stay on for our virtual fellowship. If you stay, you'll be magically whisked into a small Zoom group for further conversation. Blessings to you in the coming week.